first round of the 2001 Formula One World Championship. The sportsman Australians turn out in their thousands and add a unique flavour to the event. Ferrari also made their mark during qualifying. Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello easily captured the front row. Mika Hakkinen was their nearest rival. Highly rated debutant Juan Pablo Montoya lines up 11th. Michael Schumacher is away well. Barrichello falters and Frentzen pounces on the run-up to the tight first corner. Montoya is up to 6th, but mistime braking puts paid to a great start. He's quickly back on track, almost at Panis' expense. Consolidation is not on this rookie's agenda, as Eddie Irvine discovers to his cost. A less than impressed Jackie Stewart looks on as the Jaguar number 1 rejoins right at the back. Fourth place Ralf Schumacher does all he can to keep Barrichello behind him, but can't soak up all the Brazilian's pressure. That makes him easy prey for Trulli and Coulthard. The Italian takes 5th, but the Scot has more ambitious plans. Like driving round both of them, fortune favours the brave, and the Scot is now 5th. Barrichello is desperate to make up for his tardy start and finds anything but sympathy from Frentzen. His boss looks on in disgust as the justifiably furious German drops all the way to 16th. There's a 4-car battle for 6th as Ralf Schumacher leads Villeneuve, Panis and Verstappen. The Canadian isn't close enough to make a move just yet. But the BAR does seem to have the measure of the Williams. A points position is almost within reach. But Ralph's braking catches out Villeneuve with horrendous consequences. Due to the strength of modern Formula One cars, Ralf Schumacher and Villeneuve are perfectly okay. Much to the relief of everyone on the pit wall, including BAR boss Craig Pollock. Unfortunately, a marshal has been seriously injured, and the safety car makes an appearance while the debris is cleared. The question is, can anyone stay with Schumacher after the safety car pulls in? After 11 laps, it's time to get back to full speed. Following all his hard work, Barrichello is determined not to get caught napping. New Sauber signing Kimi Räikkönen is quick to attack and takes 10th place from Jenson Button. And just when Flavio Briatore thought things couldn't get any worse for Benetton, the Brit gets a 10-second stop-go penalty as his mechanics were on the grid within 15 seconds of the start. Hakkinen maintains a lonely vigil in second, while Barrichello will soon have Coulthard for company. However, all thoughts of getting both silver arrows on the podium are quickly shattered. Ron Dennis wants answers, and it's the McLaren's front suspension that was at fault. Jarno Trulli is unintentionally in cruise control. Panis takes 4th, while Eddie Jordan prepares for the worst. The terminal problem is all but confirmed by the ease with which Nick Heidfeld's Sauber takes 5th. Barrichello's 2nd place is under threat as Coulthard intensifies his pursuit of the Brazilian. Once again, the Scot goes around the outside at turn 3 to continue his quest for the lead. Barrichello tries to hold his line, but Coulthard has none of it. Ross Brawn turns his attention to his number 1 driver and race leader as Schumacher makes his only stop, handing the lead to Coulthard. The surviving McLaren driver will have to go some to stay there. Further pit activity, but of a more depressing nature. Trulli's Honda engine is suffering from a terminal misfire. BMW are the next to suffer. Montoya had been on course for some points. Gerhard Berger ponders the loss of both Williams, while Montoya embarks on the disheartening trudge back to the pit lane. Coulthard gets there via more conventional means. The Scot looks safe in second place. The best battle on track is between Heidfeld and Frentzen for fifth. The experienced German dives down the outside, but his countryman is not short on racecraft. Peter Sauber couldn't be happier with the performance of both his young drivers. At the sharp end of the action, the Ferrari crew break ranks as their number one driver is about to get their season off to a flying start. Michael Schumacher takes his second consecutive Australian Grand Prix victory ahead of Coulthard and Barrichello. Fourth place Olivier Panis is under investigation by the stewards for overtaking under yellow flags, which could jeopardise his position. The victory celebrations are well underway, but unbeknownst to the drivers and teams, track marshal Graham Beveridge suffered fatal injuries during the Ralf Schumacher-Villeneuve accident.
Unfortunately, we've just been told that the marshal did die, and obviously we're all shocked about this, and we have to look at what is possible from our side, what kind of support we can give, but certainly everybody is very much down for the situation.
The overriding story of the race is, as Michael's just mentioned, the fatality of the marshal, and I think on behalf of all the drivers, our thoughts go to him and to his family. And we need to obviously study how we can improve track safety to these people who give their time for us to enable us to go racing.
Further celebrations were curtailed as a mark of respect. After the tragic events in Australia, the teams must now contend with the energy-sapping heat and humidity of the Malaysian Grand Prix. As expected, Michael Schumacher is on pole, but his brother almost rewrote the script. His front row aspirations were denied by Rubens Barrichello in the dying moments of qualifying. It's monsoon season in Malaysia, so did Ron Dennis pack his waterproofs?
The temperature and wind direction and everything indicates that we're going to have a dry race.
It's all set for the toughest race of the year, but we'll have to be patient thanks to an absent-minded Fisichella. Flavio Briatore can barely believe his eyes. Poor parking causes his Italian charge to be sent to the back of the grid. Montoya is also in trouble. His engine can take no more. The rest of the field starts the warm-up lap, leaving the Colombian next to no time to get into the spare Williams. Now the scheduled drama gets underway. Michael Schumacher takes full advantage of pole, leaving Barrichello to fight off Ralf and Jarno Trulli. They all want the same piece of track, and Ralf draws the short straw. Mika Häkkinen just avoids disaster, and amazingly so does everybody else. Super rookie Raikkonen is brought back down to earth by clutch failure, while fellow debutant Montoya makes up for lost time after starting from the pit lane. Michael Schumacher leads from Barrichello, Trulli, Coulthard, Frentzen, Verstappen and Jacques Villeneuve, while Jenson Button learns that you don't give that much room to John Alesi. Another Frenchman is out of luck. Panis is okay, but has jettisoned oil, as Minardi's Fernando Alonso quickly discovers. The Ferraris approach the invisible ice rink with predictable results. Both Schumacher and Barrichello are lucky to avoid the barrier, but have all chances of a 1-2 finish slipped away? The Malaysian weather could come to the prancing horse's rescue. Surely stops for wet weather tyres aren't far away. Ron Dennis seeks an urgent meeting with his weather forecaster, while Villeneuve redefines the term aquaplaning. Obviously, this is a case for the safety car. Trulli now leads, but heavy braking, dry tyres, plus lots of surface water equals no traction. Rubens Barrichello makes the same mistake, swiftly followed by Fisichella. Verstappen also oversteps the limit of adhesion. Coulthard survives long enough to make it to his pit, as does Barrichello. McLaren put the Scot on full wets, whilst Ferrari gamble on intermediates. But a tyre mix-up loses Barrichello and Schumacher valuable time. What should have taken 8 seconds has taken 9 times that. The safety car spares Maranello's blushes. Hakkinen plays it safe, while his rival chooses the risky option. If the monsoon conditions persist, Ferrari may regret their gamble. Coulthard leads behind the safety car, ahead of Frentzen, Verstappen, Hakkinen and Trulli. Barrichello and Schumacher languish in 10th and 11th. Now the rain has eased, will their tyre choice be vindicated? We'll soon find out as the safety car pulls off. Almost immediately, the Ferraris fight back, disposing of Mazzacani in effortless fashion. Verstappen is also on a charge. A light fuel load and little downforce help his arrows blast past Frenson's Jordan into second. Further back, Barrichello and Schumacher target 7th place Alesi. The Frenchman's Prost offers little resistance to Maranello's finest. Ross Brawn looks quietly confident as his boys start to squabble amongst themselves. The world champion is quick to assert his authority with a bold move around the outside of the Brazilian. Barrichello doesn't make it easy for Schumacher, but the German obstinately sticks to his line and takes 7th place. Trulli is in possession of the final points position, but hanging on to it is easier said than done. The advantage of intermediates is about to hit home at McLaren. Schumacher performs the easiest overtaking manoeuvre he's ever done on Hakkinen and moves up to 3rd. Ferrari look unstoppable at the moment. Meanwhile, Ralph is also on a charge. The arrow's lack of downforce can't halt Schumacher's attack. The German now zeroes in on the leader. The McLaren team faces up to the inevitable as the world champion makes his move. Resistance is futile as Michael Schumacher powers into the lead. There isn't any more rain on the horizon, but a Ferrari 1-2 looks increasingly likely. A traction advantage makes 2nd place Barrichello's for the taking. Hakkinen is in for his first scheduled stop. There are no quandaries about tyre choice now. The Finn rejoins in 8th, ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello temporarily drops to 4th, however, he'll soon retake Verstappen. Coulthard was up to 2nd, but will have to give chase to the Ferraris again. Hakkinen closes on the now 4th placed Verstappen. Despite a horsepower deficit, the Dutchman refuses to yield. Their battle has allowed Ralf Schumacher to close and snatch 5th place. At the head of the field, Michael Schumacher makes his final stop for fuel and fresh rubber. No need to worry about losing the lead. Plenty of concern for Minardi, however, as Tarso Marquez's car develops an allergic reaction to his right rear tyre. The battle for 4th place has intensified. Ralf Schumacher dives down the inside of Verstappen. Jos the Boss makes life difficult for Hakkinen, opening the door for Frentzen as Ralph pits. No such hassles for Michael Schumacher, who's untroubled up front. Meanwhile, Williams focus on Ralph's defence of 5th from Hakkinen. A late pit stop has taken Verstappen out of the picture, and Frentzen is ahead. At the checkered flag, it's a familiar sight. A crushing victory for the world champion. The Malaysian Tifosi had more reason to cheer as Barrichello completes another Ferrari 1-2 ahead of Coulthard. A combination of great driving and strategy made Schumacher's victory look so easy, but it almost didn't happen.
I thought it was all finished by whatever lap number when the rain started, and I went off the circuit. I was seeing the barrier already very close and thinking that's my part now. And then I saw Rubens just coming next by the same corner. So actually we were lucky that the car stood in shape and didn't get heavily damaged, and we were able to do the race we did finally.
The championship moves to South America for the Brazilian Grand Prix. The colourfully dressed fanatical fans produce an atmosphere like nowhere else. They had the privilege of witnessing Formula 1 history during qualifying, with the Schumachers posting the first ever family front row. Hakkinen lines up in 3rd. Heartbreak for Barrichello, his Interlagos jinx returns on the installation lap. Fortunately, with Ross Brawn in charge, the spare is quickly ready, just in time to make the grid. More panic. Hakkinen stalls, testing the reactions of those behind. Ralf Schumacher makes a poor getaway and fights for 4th with Trulli. Ron Dennis looks on in disgust as hydraulic failure causes Hakkinen to retire. The Finns' McLaren will take time to clear, so the safety car makes its 3rd appearance in 3 races. After just 1 lap, the safety car pulls in, and it's time to go racing again. Montoya uses all his US experience of rolling starts to get a run on Michael Schumacher. And just brushes him aside with no regard for his reputation, dropping the German into the clutches of Coulthard. The new leader's teammate looks to take 4th from Trulli. But Barrichello scuppers those plans, Ralph loses his rear wing, and Barrichello ends another home Grand Prix in the gravel track. At the front, Montoya is doing a great job of soaking up all the pressure exerted by Schumacher. The Colombian's ultra-powerful BMW engine is a big help in keeping the world champion in his place. Schumacher makes his first of 2 stops. This strategy requires a clear lead to work, so it's advantage to the one-stopping Montoya. Gerhard Berger and Frank Williams could get a return on their investment very quickly as Montoya comes up to lap the back markers. However, nothing is ever straightforward in Formula 1. Verstappen makes a meal of his braking and changes the course of the race. A frustrating end to a great drive. The McLaren mechanics spring into action. The new leader will soon make his scheduled stop. Coulthard is about to put his race into the hands of his pit crew. Schumacher powers up the start-finish straight. Can he get his race back on track? He'll have to redouble his efforts once again as Coulthard rejoins in the lead. Ferrari's saviour may well be the weather. Frentzen is one of the first in as the scramble for appropriate tyres begins. Michael Schumacher's trusty intermediates are ready, while Coulthard chooses to battle on with his dry tyres. But this isn't just a passing shower. The Scot admits defeat and takes on the right tools for the job, handing the lead to Schumacher. Can the Rainmaster leave them trailing in his wake again? The Ferrari mechanics look on with concern. Schumacher's setup is not getting the best out of the intermediate tyres. Even staying in a straight line is a problem. It could have been worse, but now Coulthard has a fighting chance. There's a feeling of anticipation in the McLaren garage as Coulthard lines up Schumacher. The Scot has the inside line and cleverly uses Tasso Marquez Minardi to take the lead. An inspired move. Schumacher struggles with the indignity of being overtaken twice and a badly handling Ferrari. An excursion into the gravel trap dashes all hopes of victory, and he's not the only one in trouble. Jordan have also been caught out by the conditions. Jarno Trulli switched to full wet, allowing Nick Heidfeld to move up to fourth. This is another great drive from the former Formula 3000 champion. A double blow for the Irish team. Fredson retires from third. Just when Eddie Jordan thought his spirits couldn't sink any lower, Trulli's tyre-induced woes continue. Panis makes up for his Australian demotion by taking fourth. Like Fisichella, he's on course to earn his team's first points of the season. A depressing sight for their fellow Honda users. Contrast that with the mood on the Sauber pit wall. David Coulthard approaches the line to take his 10th Formula 1 win, perhaps the most impressive of his career. He beat the Rainmaster in the wet. Sauber have put one over their better-funded rivals, courtesy of Nick Heidfeld's first podium position. Coulthard now sits just 6 points behind Schumacher in the Drivers' Championship.
I'm just delighted that I was able to get my 10th victory here. It's my sister's birthday, so she asked me for a win for her birthday, so it's the best present I could give her. So I'm really overjoyed. You know, this is definitely the best feeling I've had in a Grand Prix victory.
The San Marino Grand Prix takes place at the Imola circuit, the spiritual home of Ferrari. Despite the best will of the Tifosi, the prancing horse barely broke into a gallop during qualifying. Ralf Schumacher kept his brother out of the top three in the dying seconds of the session. Similar last-gasp efforts ensured pole for Coulthard, with Häkkinen sealing an all-silver Arrow front row on Ferrari's doorstep. Hoping for a second row win, the Tifosi send positive vibes as the lights are about to go out. Coulthard gets bogged down, unlike Ralf Schumacher. He has the momentum, the best line, and now the lead. Trulli has left Michael Schumacher behind, and Häkkinen is also easily displaced. Can Ralf stay ahead and give Williams their first win for 4 years? A home victory looks even more improbable when the world champion suffers a gear change glitch. Montoya gets by the unlikely mobile chicane, as does Panis, leaving Schumacher in 7th. Even Ross Brawn is powerless to help Michael Schumacher fend off his teammate. It's It's just as fraught at the tail end. Imola's curves and a soft brake pedal leave Fernando Alonso a passenger. While the young Spaniard goes out, Michael Schumacher recovers. Panis is relieved of 7th at Rivazza. At the front, Ralf Schumacher is well in control ahead of Coulthard. But in case the worst happens, the mechanics circulate the emergency plan. Further back, Trulli is 3rd, but is holding up Häkkinen, Montoya, Barrichello and Michael Schumacher. There's no need for detailed discussions on what's gone wrong with Schumacher's car. The German's rivals will be hoping that he hasn't used up a season's worth of bad luck in one race. Any hope of salvaging some points has gone out of the window. Trulli is on course for championship points. He was running in 3rd, but temporarily dropped to 8th. He's the first of the leaders to make their initial stop. Michael Schumacher will see no return for his efforts. Brake and wheel rim problems cause his retirement. Montoya hassles Trulli for 6th. Tamburello isn't usually a passing place, but the Colombian ignores convention and muscles his way past. It's looking good for Williams. Ralf Schumacher seems on course for his first Formula 1 victory. Not too far behind, Häkkinen comes in for his first stop and slips to 4th behind Barrichello. Coulthard circulates without pressure in 2nd. He could secure the joint lead in the Drivers' Championship, if he stays there. Jacques Villeneuve won't be going much further, as his Honda engine makes it crystal clear it's had enough. Barrichello makes his stop. Can he keep Häkkinen at bay and stay in 3rd? An engine misfire ensures that Fisichella's progress is at an end. Some hot in-laps and lightning-quick pit work has given Barrichello 3rd place, ahead of Häkkinen and Montoya. Neither of them is a threat to Ralf Schumacher, who hasn't put a foot wrong since he took the lead at the start. Montoya's good showing is tempered by a faulty clutch, which makes his final stop far from routine. The rookie loses yet more places, giving the Williams management ample reason to end his race. Ralf Schumacher zeroes in on a thoroughly deserved victory. Not only is it his first Grand Prix win, he also ends years of victory drought for Williams, BMW and Michelin. In a flashback to his karting days, Michael is the first on the scene to congratulate him.
Ralf, you spent a lot of years watching your brother clock up over 40 Grand Prix wins, and now you've done it yourself. Talk us through the start. Last year you got on the grass at the start, this year the same again.
Yeah, it was the same situation, but this year I was a bit further, and luckily David gave me the space. And yeah, I think it was a clean start beside that. You know, from there on I was in front. I couldn't even believe it, to be honest. Then pulled the gap out. And after a few laps I thought he was going to go a bit quicker, so I had to push again because I had to watch after my brakes a bit. And from there on it was a pretty long race, I must say. I mean, you know, it's okay, just to be honest.
The Spanish Grand Prix heralds the return of wheel spin reducing traction control and other driver aids. International stars such as Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are here to see this milestone race in person. Patrick Kluivert mingles with Michael Schumacher, who takes his 4th pole of the season. He shares the front row with Mika Hakkinen, who discusses his chances with King Juan Carlos. Jacques Villeneuve lines up 7th. Launch Control's first victim is David Coulthard. Third on the grid will shortly become a frustrating last, if he can get going again. With their laptops primed, the technicians have precious little time to sort out the software malfunction. But under the watchful eye of their boss, the Scot gets a second chance. Another crucial test leaves Fredson's Jordan wanting. Michael Schumacher stays in front of Hakkinen, while Barrichello lets himself down at the start again. Ralf Schumacher blasts past and truly also harries the Brazilian. But Barrichello doesn't let them get away with it. He reclaims third, while it all gets a little too close for comfort in the midfield. Bernoldi breaks his front wing, as does a hasty Coulthard. Bad luck rarely restricts itself to a single hit, and now the Scot requires a trip to the pits. Michael Schumacher leads from Hakkinen and Barrichello as a new nose cone is ready for Coulthard. The Scot faces his second start from last position. Eddie Jordan hasn't seen a lot of positive images on his monitor this season. Fredson does his best to change that, but putting a wheel on the grass takes both him and new Jaguar signing Pedro de la Rosa out of the picture. A home race to forget for de la Rosa. Michael Schumacher is still in front, but can't relax for a second, with Hakkinen so close. The lap times indicate to Patrick Head that Montoya is being held up. The Colombian could get past 5th place Trulli during the first round of stops. It's nearly time for Ralph's first stop, but a locked rear brake puts pay to the German's efforts. The Imola winner quickly comes back down to earth after throwing away 4th place. The first round of stops has been rough on Trulli as he loses another place to Villeneuve's BAR. Montoya and the Canadian are on course for good results, but getting to the checkered flag has been a big problem for them this season. Schumacher is in the pits for his crucial second and final stop, while Hakkinen powers down the start-finish straight to assume the lead. All eyes focus on Hakkinen, and he hardly needs instructions on what to do now. The next few laps will be crucial to the outcome of this race. A potential podium position looks secure for Barrichello until mechanical problems intervene. The diagnosis is a broken rear suspension. Hakkinen's race hangs in the balance. Can he win his first Grand Prix of the season at Schumacher's expense? A longer second stint and some blindingly quick in and out laps has earned Hakkinen the lead. His wife Oya leads the celebrations in the McLaren garage. Schumacher must feel like he's suffering from deja vu as another McLaren disappears into the distance. Fortunately for the German, it's just Coulthard unlapping himself. However, this slight drop in pace could be the byproduct of bad vibration on his final set of tyres. The way is clear for Mika Hakkinen to get back into championship contention. It's the last lap, and he's got a substantial lead. But in a cruel twist of fate, the former world champion suddenly slows. The Finn's faulty clutch leads to a more spectacular failure. Frustration doesn't even begin to describe how he and his wife are feeling at the moment. The terminally wounded McLaren is finally laid to rest, handing the race win on a silver platter to Michael Schumacher. It's hardly the most well-deserved win he's ever scored, but 10 championship points are always gratefully received.
even though we fight for two different teams, two different interests, a lot of pressure, we always have got on very well. And you know, in this moment, you have a lot of feelings for him.
Häkkinen's catastrophe has allowed two other drivers to make history. Second place Juan Pablo Montoya earns his first trip to a Formula 1 podium, while Jacques Villeneuve gives BAR their first top three finish. The dignitaries quickly evacuate the podium before the champagne shower begins, and Villeneuve shows no sign of ceremonial rustiness, despite it being 41 races since he last sprayed the bubbly. The picturesque Styrian region is the home for the A1 ring, the venue for the Austrian Grand Prix. Qualifying was almost a Williams benefit. Ralf Schumacher put his BMW V10 to good use and heads the second row. He was out-qualified for the first time this season by his teammate Montoya, but both were put in the shade by Michael Schumacher. However, the new driver aids could undo all that hard work. It's a real cause for concern. Drivers failed to leave the grid, causing chaos behind. At the front, both Williams quickly relegate Michael Schumacher, with Montoya taking charge. Coulthard and Barrichello battle for fourth, as gearbox failure sidelines Frentzen, and launch control is a little too efficient for Heidfeld, Trulli and Häkkinen. At the Riemers curve, Barrichello has won the early skirmish for fourth, while the lightly fueled Verstappen takes 8th from Villeneuve. The Canadian's novel line gives 9th place to his teammate, Panis. The safety car's had a busy season so far, and once again it is called out to aid Häkkinen's safe passage to the pit lane. The other three rolling wounded are already there. Trulli is able to get going again. It's touch and go for Heidfeld, but Frentzen isn't so lucky. Montoya leads during this no overtaking period ahead of Ralf and Michael Schumacher, Barrichello and David Coulthard. That could change very quickly as the safety car's lights have gone out. It's time to get back up to speed. Häkkinen does that, albeit a lap down. Verstappen's light fuel load has helped him up to 5th, past Coulthard. That and his overtaking prowess could be more than Barrichello can handle. Irvine has similar trouble with 10th placed Villeneuve, but a trip across the grass deals with the Ulsterman's immediate problem. Ralf Schumacher struggles in second place, and rapidly decreasing brake power means that his race could come to a sudden halt, even if his car can't. Trulli will also have that sinking feeling very shortly. The Italian left the pit lane under a red light and has promptly been disqualified. As Michelin feared, Montoya's tyres experience a significant drop in performance. Are his defences up to the task? Schumacher tries the outside line at the Riemers curve, but Montoya won't give up that easily, and both drivers pay for their stubbornness. Barrichello now leads from Verstappen, but the Dutchman needs to pit early due to his two-stop strategy. Can he fight back and give Arrows their first point of the season? Barrichello is pushing just as hard for his second Formula 1 win. Michael Schumacher's fight back starts at the expense of 4th placed Olivier Panis. The world champion quickly lines up Kimi Räikkönen, who hardly keeps a tight grip on 3rd position. The German's pit board shows that Coulthard is the next target. The Scot is second ahead of the rapidly gaining Michael Schumacher. It looks as if the German's Ferrari is undamaged after his clash with Montoya. The Colombian spectacular race comes to a disappointingly tame end, thanks to hydraulic failure. Barrichello makes his sole stop. The Brazilian drops to second, handing the lead to Coulthard. Now, can the Scot take advantage of a longer first stint and keep the lead? The possibility of points is difficult to resist for 7th placed Villeneuve, who breaks the pit lane speed limit. The best driver aid is an efficient pit crew, and the McLaren team rarely lets its drivers down. Can the boys keep the prancing horse at bay? The pit lane is very long here, but Barrichello has traffic to deal with. The English team has done it again, but now the focus shifts to the Silver Arrow's reliability. The events of Spain are all too fresh in the memory for McLaren personnel. Engine failure continues Button's miserable season so far. Michael Schumacher is giving away valuable championship points. The Ferrari hierarchy won't stand for this.
Who learnt its last lap? Let Michael pass for the championship. Let Michael pass for the championship to that place.
Time is running out for the order to be obeyed. Coulthard approaches the line for a well-earned victory, while Barrichello makes his feelings abundantly clear by yielding to Schumacher at the last possible moment. The Scots win helps ease the pain of Häkkinen's Spanish disaster. Raikkonen finishes 4th, and Verstappen nets Arrow's first points of the season. After handing over 2nd place, Barrichello's morale is at rock bottom. Coulthard's outlook couldn't be any more different. His win takes him to within 4 points of the championship lead.
From where I was in the grid, obviously having qualified 7th, it was important to start heavy and just to have the options open depending on how the race went. I was able to lean the engine out early on after the first few laps and save quite a few laps of fuel, as well as obviously with the safety car, and that enabled us to go quite long.
Schumacher's lead could have been down to just 2 points. Barrichello knows that all too well. Monte Carlo, the mecca for the rich and famous, provides the affluent backdrop for the Monaco Grand Prix. The motto here is, if you've got it, flaunt it. Naomi Campbell and P. Diddy are amongst the VIPs on hand, and as always, Prince Albert gives the royal seal of approval. David Coulthard qualified on pole ahead of championship leader Michael Schumacher and teammate Mika Häkkinen. The field gets set for the warm-up lap, but it won't be led by Coulthard. In a repeat of the Spanish Grand Prix, his launch control fails at a critical moment. Once again, Michael Schumacher profits from McLaren misfortune. The world champion takes full advantage of Coulthard's relegation to last and leads from Häkkinen and Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher takes 4th from Irvine, opening the door for his teammate. The Scots will have to be patient as there's very little room for manoeuvre at the Grand Hotel hairpin. As always, the Armco is there to punish the hasty, and Heidfeld is just another victim. Schumacher leads from Häkkinen, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher and Montoya. The former Formula 3000 champion has had an incident-packed first 6 races, and a trip over the curbs here sets him up for more of the same. His bosses love his speed and fighting spirit, but a few more finishes wouldn't go amiss. Barrichello approaches the tunnel as he pursues 2nd place Häkkinen. There's more than just light at its end. A potential Ferrari 1-2 is on offer thanks to the Finns' handling problems. A dreadful weekend for McLaren, an indescribably frustrating season so far for their former world champion. A total of 4 points is a miserable haul for a driver of his talents. There's no end in sight to McLaren's problems. Coulthard is stuck in 13th, behind Enrique Bernoldi's arrows. Precious few overtaking opportunities and some great defensive driving from the Brazilian will test the Scots' strength of character to the limit. Help for Coulthard's predicament could come from an unexpected source. Can the Scot take advantage as Schumacher comes up to lap him and Bernoldi? He gives the race leader plenty of room, but loses valuable ground to Bernoldi. Ferrari is not likely to shed any tears. Honda Power comes to the fore in the battle for 5th. But Trulli and Villeneuve will soon be joined by Fisichella's Bennett and Renault. However, all thoughts of a three-way scrap melt away like Trulli's engine. Watching the pit wall monitor has been a stressful experience for Eddie Jordan this season. Eddie Irvine looks set to equal Jaguar's best ever result if he can hold on to 4th place. The Ulsterman's advances further frustrate the progress of Coulthard, who is still stuck behind Bernoldi. Monaco has the habit of turning the formula on its head. It's unlikely that team principal Bobby Rahal would have predicted one of his cars would be lapping a McLaren. Michael Schumacher is seldom prey for upsets. That's why he's a magnet for other sports stars, like Ronaldo. John Alesi is in 6th. His hold on the last championship point becomes even more secure, following Frenson's misjudgment in the tunnel. Driver-team boss relations will be the biggest casualty of that crash. At the front, Michael Schumacher comes in for his one and only stop. This allows his teammate to assume the lead. Albeit briefly, as the Brazilian has yet to make his stop. Electrical problems look like curtailing Ralf Schumacher's race, putting Irvine on the verge of Jaguar's best ever result. 6th place Coulthard is long free of Bernoldi after their pit stops and could salvage some points. That's beyond Ralf Schumacher, despite the best intentions of his pit crew. His retirement also promotes Villeneuve to 4th. Rubens Barrichello's short tenure at the front is about to come to an end as he pits for more fuel and fresh rubber. The Brazilian leaves the way clear for Michael Schumacher to retake the lead. Alain Prost looks concerned. John Alesi's up to 5th, but a rear puncture puts the prospect of the team's first points of the season under threat. The problem is quickly dealt with. This stop lets Coulthard up to an unthinkable 5th, but the Frenchman is still on course for a valuable championship point. Michael Schumacher's victory has never been in doubt. He can even afford to slow right down to let Barrichello close for the grandstand finish. There'll be plenty of basking in reflective glory for Irvine, who bags Jaguar's first ever podium. Much to the relief of Bobby Rahal. Schumacher celebrates a 5th Monaco victory, while Prost saviour Alesi forgets there's barely enough room to swing a cat at La Rascasse, never mind an F1 car. He finishes 6th, behind Coulthard.
I don't know what is so special. I certainly love that circuit. I have always found it easier to find my setup, which is very important again here, to throw around the car through the corners. But you have to be lucky to some degree as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. To get a podium, especially here, you know. Have 2 Ferraris and Jaguar on the podium in Monaco's really what Formula 1's about in a way.
So far, Formula 1 2001 is about Schumacher and Ferrari domination. The world champion's fourth victory takes him 12 points clear in the Drivers' Championship, while Barrichello's second place helps give Ferrari a 32-point lead in the race for the Constructors' title. The magnificent St. Lawrence River surrounds the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, the home of the Canadian Grand Prix. Celebrities such as Nicolas Cage, Naomi Campbell and Jim Carrey have all been attracted by top-class motorsport at Montreal. For the second time this season, Michael heads an all-Schumacher front row ahead of Davis Coulthard. Ricardo Zonta joins the grid in place of the injured Frentzen. The Schumachers start well with Coulthard tucking in behind ahead of Trulli and Barrichello. Hometown hero Villeneuve has a dreadful start as Coulthard settles in for a long race. Barrichello uses his horsepower advantage and a light fuel load to leave Trulli behind as the field approach the slowest corner on the track. With plenty of heavy braking, the discs get a real roasting at this circuit. Villeneuve languishes well outside the top 10, but Fisichella and Bernoldi's collision helps remedy that situation. More stress for Benetton Supremo Briatore, as Button is now side by side with Bernoldi. Fisichella arrives on the scene with disastrous consequences. The Italian team's swan song season goes from bad to worse. The top four are breaking away, while the midfield loses yet more members. The latest casualties are Irvine's Jaguar and Heidfeld's Sauber. Barrichello is the man to watch as he effortlessly drops Coulthard to fourth. Ralph isn't having such an easy time with his elder brother, and he will soon have another Ferrari to deal with. Barrichello will put the Williams driver's defensive skills to the test. The Brazilian looks ready to pounce, but is too eager to get the job done. He had switched off his traction control to get rid of a misfire, but the cure has a devastating side effect. Barrichello rejoins in 14th. Jenson Button takes his 10-second stop-go penalty for a jump start, while the pace of the Schumacher brothers is proving too much for third place David Coulthard. It's rapidly turning into a Schumacher lockout. Barrichello's recovery drive is well underway. But Montoya's mistake forces the Brazilian into suicidal evasive action. The remaining Ferrari and Williams leave behind the safety car, ahead of Coulthard, Trulli, Panis, Verstappen and Raikkonen. Montoya and Barrichello begin the post-mortem as the safety car pulls off and the green light goes on. Michael Schumacher looks to have caught the rest napping, but the power of his brother's BMW engine could redress the balance very quickly. The Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve has never been kind to its native son, and a broken drive shaft causes his fifth retirement in 6th Canadian Grand Prix. At the front, the battle for the lead is well and truly on. For the first time this season, Michael is put under intense pressure by his brother. Ralph ponders a move down the inside, but there's no need for heroics now as Michael Schumacher comes in for his only stop. Some qualifying laps are now in order if Ralph wants to keep the lead. The ball is well and truly in his court as his brother gives chase. pursuit of a podium finish has been curtailed by brake problems. Hakkinen is having one of his more uneventful drives to third place, but he'll be there to pick up the pieces should the leaders fail. There's no sign of any weakness in race leader Ralf Schumacher's performance. He's put in some red-hot laps since his brother pitted, and now it's time for the mechanics to do their bit. Ralph's Michelins perform better in hot temperatures and give the Williams team a chance for their second win of the season. Easier said than done, with a three-time world champion behind you. Coulthard has slipped to fourth behind Hakkinen, but that's hardly important now. Norbert Haug and logistic coordinator Joe Ramirez look on in disgust as the Mercedes cremation finally stops in the pits. The sight of Truly's Jordan slowing is a depressingly familiar one in 2001. Raikkonen easily takes fourth, and it won't be too long before that pit board is redundant. The Italian is another victim of the circuit's appetite for brakes. That leaves Raikkonen en route to 3 points and allows Alesi to build on his Monaco breakthrough. Jos Verstappen had been on course for his second point of the season, but his brakes can't stand the heat. Ralf Schumacher's Williams has exhibited bulletproof reliability, and the German's pace, particularly around his pit stop, was more than enough to earn him his second victory. His brother won't be too disappointed with second. He now leads the Drivers' Championship by 18 points from Coulthard. The Scots teammate earns his first podium finish of the season, while Schumacher Jr.'s army of disciples continues to grow. There's more elation at Prost as Alesi earns them 2 more valuable championship points. Ralph's win even brings a smile to Frank Williams' face, and a well-justified pat on the back for the team. It's Formula One's first sibling 1-2.
It was a great racing today. The whole time the two of us were together, was always waiting for him to do a mistake. Obviously he didn't. So I tried it a couple of times at the end of the straight, but I knew that was difficult. So I waited for the pit strategy, which I thought that we were going longer anyway, and it worked out that way.
Ralph experiences that unique champagne down the overalls feeling, while Hakkinen stands on the podium for the first time since Japan 2000. The European Grand Prix takes place at Germany's Nürburgring. This is Schumacher.